So there's basic rules in this. We watch all the NHL videos from Next Man Up, from February, and then we review and then I spin a wheel, and whichever team it is, I predict if they're gonna win the game, and sometimes I say they're gonna win by a certain amount, like 3 or 4. And say that they win or say that they lose. It just depends on the team. So let's see.
How do we find ourselves?
Up I get the Carolina Hurricanes, with their new trade
against the
and
Jets,
all.
we saw Ryan Hartman face off
Interesting.
against Cole Perfetti, where he caught Perfetti up high in a sequence that actually went uncalled during the game. But the next day, it was announced that he did receive a $5,000 fine for it. However, that same day, Perfetti revealed the following.
He made it pretty obvious, what happened to Kaprizov there. I mean, he's obviously going to be out for a little bit. That's what he thought he needed to do. Yeah, I was mic'd up, so to come out and blatantly say it to the mic, it worked out in our favor.
Now, he's referencing Kaprizov getting injured by Dillon on this play a game prior, but Hartman decided to go after Perfetti in revenge, one of the smallest guys on the team, by the way, with a full admission of having done so with intent to injure. Well, tonight, as the Wild came into Ottawa, guess who was back at it? But this one's gotta be a suspension. You see, the Sens were dominant tonight, and after Norris would open the scoring short-handed in the final minutes of the first for his 19th, they were just the far more active team all night, doubling up on shots, outshooting the Wild 35-12 in the first 2 periods alone. So in the second, we would see Foligno trying to inject a spark, coming together with Zub, with a bit of a headlock here as the two teams would come together. But didn't
Come
go a whole lot, as on
together.
that 4-on-4, Kachuk and Stützle would connect with his 17th to double up the lead. Before, just a minute later, it's Amadio with their third straight unanswered. Pinto and Greg doing some great work here as they net 2 goals in 67 seconds. Again, shots were 9-2 for the period and 23-10 at this point in the game. So it was Hartman's turn to try to get some energy going. He'd go after Hamonic repeatedly, who seemingly gave him the old jack eye treatment we saw in Montreal of, we're up 3-0, bud. Hartman, though, kept wanting it. These two would exchange pleasantries as you could feel.
Here's the thing that I've been thinking about. Carolina. I think the Carolina Hurricanes are close to winning a Stanley Cup, and I know that they're working towards it. I think either next year or this year, they're going to win a Stanley Cup. That's my prediction. Think the Florida Panthers have settled down. Their kingdom of victory has kind of started to walk like how Paul McCartney's walking today, and kind of just slow down, speak slower like Mitch McConnell or Joe Biden, and kind of just basically, I think the Carolina Hurricanes are forcing themselves and pushing themselves towards the Stanley Cup Finals, and I think they're winning now. But how much energy and how exhausted will they be? They need to save up some energy. And when you enter the playoffs, you can't be exhausted. You can have exhausted moments before a period and between periods, but you can't during the game. And I think that's what they've been doing for the past couple of years. So I think they need to roll that out. And they do have good players, but they're getting so exhausted because they keep pushing and forcing victories on them towards the regular season. And every team tries their best during the regular season. But they keep trying, and it's not working. It's failing. And the manager, the GM, the general manager, needs to realize that. He really does, and he needs to be like, well, here's the deal, no joke. Being serious right now. We gotta have a team with chemistry, and we need to have them come together right now over me. They need to keep up the scoring. They need to still lead, but maybe just by 1 or 2 goals, and You're lucky you didn't need to hear that crap.
Was just brewing. Frustrated and with Hamonic not obliging, he diverted his attention towards Stutzla. Gave him a hit, Stutzla responds with a whack, as we'd see both go to the box. Hartman for embellishing as well as 2 for roughing, and yeah, they were yapping at each other in the box pretty good. But Hamonic giving him the stare down from across the ice was pretty hilarious. Anyway, while nothing would come on that ensuing power play, it brings us to this. 16 seconds on the clock, and it's a face-off between Stutzla and Hartman. And stop me if you've seen this before, because sure enough, on this face-off, it's Hartman with a greasy play. Right off the draw, he decides to ram Stutzla to the ice and just obviously crosses a line here. Stutzla was cut pretty good and leaking pretty good in what, again, came right at the end of the period. The officials would call a 5-minute match penalty, which they reviewed and upheld, but look at him. I don't understand how he doesn't think this was a penalty. The two benches would come together a bit as they were chirping at each other, but again, for the second season in a row, we see Hartman going after a young, skilled player with a clear intent to injure. This is undoubtedly going to get further punishment, as there's just no place for this in the game. And while Hamonic, like Kevin Bieksa noted during the intermission, could have possibly avoided this ordeal if he had just dropped the gloves earlier in the period, I also get why he didn't. He doesn't want to give the Wild any energy. They are the best road team in the league. But regardless, there's no excuse for this. It's a boneheaded play from a repeat offender. It's just disgusting. Now, to start that third period with the extended power play, the Sens would take advantage. It's Sanderson first, firing it over the shoulder of Gustafsson to make it a 4-goal game. Shortly after, Kachuk with numbers keeps it, and he scores, sneaking one past Gustafsson for his 20th to make it 5 straight goals, which almost immediately after, it's Pinto going down, drawing another penalty, as Middleton would be called for the elbow. Another bit of a nasty penalty, as the Senators would now get a 2-man advantage, where Stutzla for Batherson, and this game was blown wide open. I mean, if it wasn't already, he snaps a 10-game drought for their 6th in a row, putting a pounding, again, on the best road team in the NHL. But that was about it for this game. 52 shots on net by the Senators, and as time expired, Ottawa would get a standing O in their 4th straight victory, 5th straight at home, with Merlainen recording the 16-save shutout. But aside from the dub, this is going to be the conversation out of this one. You guys let me know your thoughts down below. And just quickly, since I announced that jersey giveaway I'm doing, I've been overwhelmed by the amount of subscribers. Thank you guys. For anyone that isn't aware, I am striving to hit 100,000 this season, and so if you're not subscribed, please do, because when I hit it, I am going to give an NHL jersey away.
I'm subscribed, and even though that he's over 100,000, since you're my good bud, I'm asking everyone here to like and even subscribe both my YouTube channel and his YouTube channel, and let's push him over 1 million. Let's do that. Alrighty, everybody? 1 million's our goal for him and our channel, alrighty? But mostly his channel, because if it was my channel, it would be unrealistic. We're gonna have a bunch of stuff in October. There's a good amount on the docket, so,
Of the winner's choice. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it as always, and I'll see you in the next one.
No, not the end of the video, no. What was this? There's no place for this garbage. Sure there is. We got a bunch of garbage in this world. 100,000 subscribers. Can't wait to watch that.
What was this week? Things seem to have taken on a whole new level of crazy. We had some of the biggest hits we've seen all year. I mean, dude, another massive trade, easily the funniest sequence of the season. Another week of even the goalies getting into it, who, by the way, came up with some massive saves. Oh, did you see that? That's a horn! Of course, some pretty goals, and yes, plenty of fantastic sound bites.
Oh, and Anderson mimicking. Yes, he was. Good on him.
Whoa, no. Glass. Leafs. There's Tanev.
Yeah, anything for the Leafs. Like, do your thing, but just give me a touch, you know?
There's plenty to cover, so let's get to it. Starting with the notables of the week, as just when I thought things were maybe getting friendly in Vancouver, early this week, Rutherford dropped this bombshell on us, meaning it was just a matter of time.
You don't have any comments?
Look, here's the plan. If I go to New York, you'll never have to see me again. And sure enough, 25 minutes after Miller walked into the Canucks room, it dropped. A big-time deal that saw Miller, who had so many great memories in Vancouver, officially headed to the New York Rangers. And I swear they did this just so that he wouldn't have to be there for yet another Petter.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that happened. There's only so much one man can handle, as I don't even think they know who's who at this point. We've got Elias Pettersson, EP the sequel, and now Marcus Pettersson. Now, as for Miller, he made quick work of things in New York, and honestly, I think this will work out all right for both teams. But we also had Calgary and Philly dealing. While not as hard-hitting, it does mean there's plenty of jerseys to be updated. So, if you need a new sweater after all of this, join the giveaway. I'm making it a mission to hit 100,000 subscribers this season, so if you're not subscribed, which many are,
oh yeah, and it's my mission to hit 200 subscribers this year and have Next Man Up hit a million subscribers this year. By the end of the year, everybody, by the end of the year.
As when I hit 100, you could be a winner. Anyway, moving on.
Winner!
This week we saw Fleury play his final game.
Now I need to check
Montreal,
my
as
email.
they came out and showed him all.
I don't think I won because I didn't
This
enter
was
the
a fun
giveaway.
one. He
I don't
gave us
think I did.
vintage Fleury with some great moments as he secured a shutout, becoming the first netminder to record one both as a teenager and now as a 40-year-old. However, nothing was better than the show of class at the end. The entire Canadiens lined up to send him off, as how do you not love this great game? Then an update on the great chase. We saw Ovi officially get to less than 20 goals away from the record as he scored a pair this week, getting to 877, and with 30 games left on the season, by golly, he's gonna do it, isn't he? We are truly witnessing great eightness, folks. And lastly, we saw a brutal moment in the Vegas-Dallas game as Mark Stone lunging into Heiskanen would see him go down, and this sucks. He's officially out for the Four Nations face-off in a massive blow to Finland. And to be fair to Stone, while this looked so stupid at first, this angle does appear to show he was tripped up.
Got a date.
Never want to see, guys get
Need
hurt.
to watch.
I really hope he's all right.
But
Take a
that's
bottle,
probably a good
take a
segue
tap,
into the
and
nasty
use.
of the week,
It's as
as
easy
we
as that
had our
with
own
Super
Royal
Cream
Rumble.
shampoo. Only Super Cream shampoo contains the
At
gentle
least Hartman
conditioner
seemed to
pure
think so.
Super
Here's
that
real
leaves your
footage
hair
of him and
just right.
Stutzler as
Buzz,
Hartman
no buzz,
decided
do
to
what you want,
DDT
boy.
him off the
Go out at
face-off
once,
in
boy.
Ottawa. A greasy little
Unforgettable,
move here. Stutzler was
And it's as
weakened,
easy
just
as
nasty
Super
work.
Cream
Then
shampoo.
look at this hit. Cooley at MSG absolutely demolished Pietrangelo, as he may have just given him more reason to miss the Four Nations, but I gotta see it again. Boom! My goodness. In Seattle, it was Paha laying that boom as he caught Burakovsky in
audio
open ice.
isn't
We had
that
Nason
good right
on
now,
Thompson
so
in Buffalo. A nasty
might-
hit here, popping the lid
gonna
as
be
he
an
get the
interesting
boot. But
conversation.
no one did anything about it. Their best players face down, and yeah, interesting response. Draisaitl in Edmonton had a nice reverse hit on Benoit, as even in the PWHL, we saw Poulin with a big check on Downey Landry. Not something you see from the ladies every day, as she would get a match. Another nasty one came in Tampa as Gatcombe boarding Gensel. Yikes. We had Trouba with a big hit on Kadri, and then another in the same game as they go at it in Calgary. While in Philly, we had a couple. First, Dylan catching Tippett with a big one, who never really even had the puck puck here. So Torts was pissed. The puck is there, and he's right there. So returning the favor later in the game, it's Sealer on Bubble Bastion. Good night. And rounding it out, my favorite sequence of the season. After Klapko would catch Wilson in the corner here, he gave him a little extra, which Calgary thought he went down easy for as they were barking back and forth. So a little while later, this happened.
Wilson, now the whistle sounds. Oh, and Anderson mimicking Wilson. Yes, he was.
Everyone in the arena was laughing, but it continued in the box where we had Wilson mock Anderson for his infamous stare downs he does, to which Anderson came right back with the, "Oh, my ribs." This was amazing. Ooh, nice head. Guys, who am I? Just hilarious stuff all around. But with that,
We gotta mock each other.
Octopuses thrown on the ice in Alberta this week.
Oh, he did. Look at that. Good on him.
In Carolina, we had David Riddick photobombing the LA team, as this was pretty great. Also pretty neat, Dominic Shine, at 31 years of age, made his NHL debut after 9 seasons with Grand Rapids.
You know, there was a point last year where I was kind of thinking about, maybe being done to be here today. It's amazing.
Crossing over to the NFL, after the Bills saw absolute heartbreak, I still think this was BS, by the way. The Sabres would put up 7 on the Bruins.
The touchdown that Buffalo needed in Kansas City.
Speaking of which, we saw Marshawn get stuck in the box. Call that a rat trap. And nothing to see here, just a few dudes being dudes. In Ottawa, we had Ferravari jumping off the ice to avoid the penalty. And speaking of penalties, this was incredible. After Forbert would get called for interfering on Berggren, Canucks announcer John Shorthouse gave us this.
This will actually be a 2.5-minute power play due to the 25% tariff.
And then here's Myers side of the puck.
I was not ready for that.
Right now.
No. Oh, man. Oh. That joke just came out of right field. Like, oh man, that was
After Linus Karlsson scored his first NHL goal, the linesman figured he'd try to get them the puck, but no one wanted anything to do with it. Over in the AHL, this was pretty great. Just listen. And what else? We had Torts and Michkov going at it in Philly. This strange penalty in Edmonton, Podkolzin with the double doink, which is pretty funny. And speaking of this game,
They come into our building and we gotta change our schedule around, but
yeah, anything for the Leafs.
and during the game, I always love when this happens.
Glass brought down by Matthews. There's Tatum.
Then we also have the Utah No Names No More. Well, at least they're on their way to it, announcing the final 3 candidates for their name. As here's leaked logos for each, which,
Boom. Roasted.
Nah, but which one do you guys like? I think, personally, I'm hoping for the elbow. John Cooper had a pretty great reaction to Jay.
Alrighty, let's see them. I thought we were done when we decided it was the Utah Hockey Club.
The game, I always love when this happens.
Glass brought down by Matthews. There's Tatum.
Then we also have the Utah No Names No More. Well, at least they're on their way
I
to
love
it,
the no
announcing
names.
the final 3 candidates for their name. As here's leaked logos for each, which,
Glass brought down by Matthews. There's Tatum.
Then we also have the Utah No Names No More. Well, at least they're on their way to it, announcing the final 3 candidates for their name. As here's leaked
Alrighty, logos. I like the Mammoths, the Utah Mammoths.
logos for each, which,
Boom. Roasted.
Nah, but which one do you guys like? I think, personally,
They're
I'm
very
hoping
similar.
for the elbow. John Cooper had a pretty great reaction to Jay Retcher's shoes.
Man, those are
And
bad.
to finish, a couple of wholesome moments. We had Kachuk first with baby Kachuk, always cute. And then in
Mega
Seattle, the court's
downstairs and
mom
plays
was mic'd
video
up, which was
games,
pretty
so
great.
hold on,
He's leaving. He's leaving.
Joey. Yeah. Let's go,
With that, let's get to the boys,
Brandon.
who again had a
Let's
fantastic
go.
week. Starting in Tampa, we had big save Dave Riddick as point outweights him and thought he had him beat, but what an unreal save. Back to that Toronto-Edmonton game, it was Joseph
Hey.
Brick Wall in the dying seconds making a pair of beauties to secure the game. We had Freddie Krueger Anderson in Carolina with one that's going to haunt Kreider kicking this one out. And wanting in on that action was Kochetkov. Stay in your not so fast as he was out there.
Stay in your net. Stay in your goddamn net.
Hitting his own highlights. Beautiful. In that Boston Buffalo game.
No.
With an absolute robbery on Letary.
It's completely unacceptable. Huh.
Groovy with grand larceny on Zegras. Then in the AHL, it was Shelos with the throwing stick save. An interesting method as Blake Coleman just straight up threw the puck itself. But if we're in Calgary, how about Dustin Wolf? He had a nice stop here, but look at these numbers. This kid's got to be my dark horse candidate for the Calder right now. Another rookie in Niskarov faced a penalty shot this week back when O'Connor was still a Penguin. But when asked about what's going through his mind,
Oh, whoa, no. That's what I felt.
And then lastly, we saw Jonathan Quick in New York with an acrobatic classic save. Gonna need to be quicker than that as he would end up taking the dub against Vegas, marking what was his 400th career win, thereby becoming the first American goaltender to accomplish this. But it wasn't all fun and games for the netminders as we saw UC Soros in Pittsburgh get into it with Sid. This was pretty fun as Sid gave him the old stare down, but I don't blame Soros. Who would want to face Sid when he's still out there doing this, giving us the patented one knee slapper for a beauty, which the night before we saw him with a pretty goal in Utah. Fresh off the bench, outweights Ingram as he's now scored in 43 different buildings.
19 years of free tickets to watch him. It's pretty incredible.
So with it, let's get to the goals of the week. On Long Island, this was nice. Lehkonen from his booty, still able to elevate that thing. We had Bedard in Tampa with a laser beam from the worst angle, just an unbelievable shot. Top cheese, wow. And then look at this wizardry from Quinn Hughes against the Blues. He puts this under the skates of Suter for Garland in just a work of art. And speaking of the Hughes boys, we had Luke.
His hockey stick seemed like it was blurred. I wonder why they blurred his stick.
Against the Flyers, look off his own brother as he says, I can do it too.
I was just like, man, just give me a touch in the neutral zone. Like, do your thing, but just give me a touch, you know?
And then in Carolina, we saw the first of many from Rantanen, I'm sure, but check out this video. Radish against the Jets had a strange one. Helly thought he had it, but whoop, talk about putting it in the net, as we had a few odd ones this week. Jets on the receiving end of this one, as Lowry cutting in front of his own net gives Ehlers an easy one. Nice one, but it's even easier when you just finish it off yourself, as Sider in Detroit with the whoopsie. But yeah, I think that's going to about do it for this one. Again, I hate to be annoying about this, but please do hit that
You're being annoying about it.
I'd really appreciate it, and you may just win that jersey. But again, thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. The shootout was introduced in the NHL in 2005, and stop me if you've seen it before, as Patrick Kane and that filthy backhander has been lethal in the shootout for about as long as it's been here. And last night in Seattle, after the Kraken down 4-2 were kept in it on the back of a tremendous stop from Decord, they
That was
would
a
end up
big
coming
trade when
back to
Patrick
tie this game at 4, meaning as time expired, 60 minutes of play was not enough to solve it, and overtime wouldn't do it either, as while Kane had himself a shot to end it here, again Decord with several key stomps coming down to the final seconds, it meant that this one would have to be settled in the shootout, where Patrick Kane had the opportunity opportunity to make a little NHL history. Ironically, he came into this game tied at 52 shootout goals with none other than his longtime teammate Jonathan Toews, who has one of the best shootout percentages of all time. He had that sneaky 5-hole shot that seemed nearly unstoppable. But anyway, with Beniers going up first and losing it on his attempt, Raymond coming back would actually beat the cord but caught the post, and then Talbot stopping right on his attempt. It meant it was showtime. A shot at history where he would give us vintage Patrick Kane.
Hangs on, backhand and score!
About as satisfying as it gets. It's one thing to get the record, but to do it with this style, I mean, look at the reaction on the bench. You gotta love it. His speed pushes the cord back a bit, but pumping the brakes, the quick dangles to the backhand, all in one motion, it's just not even fair. And while that would get him the goals record at 53, with the Kraken going down and missing another, the Red Wings would win it, meaning this was also his 23rd game-deciding shootout goal, thereby tying him for first in that category with Franz Nielsen. Just super fun to watch, and the victory means the Red Wings would wrap up a 4-game road trip with a perfect sweep, their second 7-game winning streak in 20 games since Todd McLellan became head coach. The Red Wings find themselves with 61 points and in that top wildcard spot. An impressive turnaround, to say the least. But yeah, just a quick one here. Again, I am pushing hard to hit 100,000 subs this year, and when I do, I'll be doing that NHL jersey giveaway. So if you're not subscribed yet, I'd love if you hopped on board, as I'm excited to do this giveaway. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh.
Soft plays that are just going to get picked off. If he's playing like that,
He seems
it's
like
just not gonna work.
he
That
seems
is
like he's from
Let's
Fox
call
News.
this a
That's
net
what
with
he
some
seems
real
like.
harsh criticism
Like a
of
Fox
Connor
News
Bedard's play
anchor.
against the
He
Oilers.
gives me
Did he
those
say anything wrong? No, I can't say that he did, but he hopped on what has become a popular...
I thought someone was calling me
Excuses
when
for a
the
young player
first
overdo.
news
Dart
thing
hasn't lived
popped
up to
up.
the generational player billing. This was not supposed to be this way this year.
This kid needs to learn, and unfortunately, he dropped.
Yeah, the pressure is mounting, and while Bedard had this to say in response...
I mean, if I make a mistake, I know. I don't need to watch a TNT broadcast to figure out if I made a mistake.
I think the position he's in right now is a lose-lose. If he plays smart, but the Blackhawks inevitably lose, he's not making a big enough difference. If he tries too hard and makes mistakes, he's not a smart player. The Blackhawks still lose, and now he's a bust. He went from being one of the most hyped prospects in years, considered by many a generational talent before he was even drafted, and then lived up to it in just about every way during his rookie season. He finished the rookie campaign with 61 points in 68 games and won the Calder as expected on a team in the Blackhawks who were downright dreadful. This season, he clearly needed help if things were to improve, and they did bring in some help, but the fact that Bertuzzi is their highest paid forward should probably say something. This season, things have been more challenging than ever. Early on, he went through the worst drought of his career. He is, again, on one of the worst, if not the worst teams in the league.
See what happens after that. See if they explode,
You know, I'm not doing much.
Kidding. I don't think they would
offensively at all,
explode.
so,
See how
you know,
hot
just
they
feel
are.
like you don't have it or whatever, and you lose a bit of confidence.
Take any solace in getting your 100th career point.
Right now, I couldn't care less.
Now again, the media has been all over him as of late, but did Connor Bedard call himself generational? Or was that a label everyone else put on him, expecting him to carry a team with no support and then...
Okay, this actually kind of goes into some stuff that I've been looking at more recently, like before last year. You can't call yourself generational. You can't call yourself the best. You can't call yourself the greatest, because it seems like you're saying, basically makes you look narcissistic, and that's not good. And clearly you can see the YouTube ad thing on the aside for T-Mobile. We're not sponsored by any of the ads that I put in this video. So, Yeah.
Thrashing him when he makes mistakes. Is any of this fair to a 19-year-old kid? And with the way the media is talking, things must be much worse than last season, right? Well, through 54 games, he's currently got 48 points, averaging 0.9 points per game. Again, that's with him going through that 12-game goal drought. His 61 points in 68 games last season put him at, drumroll, 0.9 points per game. And there's still a good chunk of this season to play, but last night he scored what was his 21st point in his last 21 games. I think this has all been incredibly overblown. When you watch the Blackhawks play, it becomes pretty obvious what's going on. Not much has changed from last season. He still has absolutely no help offensively. Most of his points come off of the rush or off of broken
Now he's
plays he
roasting
creates. And so when Mark
Connor
Messier
Bedard.
says something like this,
Right on Reinhardt. This is a 50-50 battle. He's soft on the stick. They get a power play, and who goes right onto the ice? Bedard.
I don't know how he can insinuate that benching Bedard on the power play because he lost a battle to Sam Reinhart, a 60-goal scorer last season, makes any sense. You completely forget how bad the rest of his team is when you say something.
They're angry
How
at,
will the team look at you when you bench your team-leading scorer by a full 10 points? Now, does Bedard need to round out his defensive game? 100%, but he's 19. He could very likely have a full 19 years in the NHL ahead of him, for crying out loud. There's plenty of time. And no, when Chicago comes out of this rebuild, Bedard cannot get away with this play. Paul Bessonette is 100% right, but that's not where the Blackhawks are right now. Sure, it would be good if he gets into good habits now, of course, but on this current team, it doesn't matter what Bedard does. They're going to be losing either way. Losing 2 games for every one they win for a kid carrying the weight of being labeled generational is tough. He wants to win. The compete is certainly there.
But everything that we have asked him to improve on, he works on it, he improves on it.
Like, he does everything the right way. Like, he wants to get...
So this is what happened with Sidney Crosby.
Yes, they can. Because if it's your property, they will not be able to steal it.
Well, so
No.
Mario Lemieux was still on the team. Well, he had retired for a while, but Sidney Crosby kind of came in because he'd gotten drafted, and that's why he was so good early on. And then Chris Letang and Jake Getzel came along, and they were good, but they also, they're like a totally different team today. Getzel left, and that one older guy, I think he retired. Forget what his name was. He was like in NHL 2020, 2018, and 2019. But in 2020. But, I don't think he plays hockey anymore. I think he retired.
better every single day. He wants to learn.
Ultimately, I think dogging on him for these things runs the risk of him losing some of the best parts of his game. Why can we not celebrate his strengths while he develops his weaknesses? Which, a big one, is his face-offs. He's been pretty bad at them, and they are integral to hockey. If you don't win them, immediately you're chasing the game shift after shift. But take a look at his last 5 games. That is a drastic improvement, and will it stay consistently? I doubt it, but it shows he's already growing. He's had the spotlight in such a big way that I think we as fans feel like he's been around a lot longer than he has. But I do not think it can be overstated just how young he is. Bissonnette didn't even enter the league until he was 23. Mark Messier at 19 had 5 Hall of Famers on his team and still put up these numbers, which, no disrespect, Messier was a fantastic player and a leader. But it is worth noting, both Biz and Messier have never gone through what Bedard is going through right now at 19. Overall, I think this discussion is kind of pointless. If he hasn't improved 2 to 3 years from now, then sure, we can get more. And if you're not subscribed, when I get to 100, serious about his development and whether he's a bust, like so many are already quick to call him. But for now, it's just too early. My money is on him being just fine. But let me know your thoughts down below. And if you're not subscribed, when I get to 100,000, which I want to do this season, I'm going to set up an NHL jersey giveaway of the winner's choice. So if you haven't subscribed, I'd love if you did. And yeah, appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next one. Can you believe we're at the All-Star break already? Is it still called the All-Star break? Anyway, the season is flying by, and as we enter the final 2 months of regular season hockey, the drama is ever increasing. And while we got some more of the nasty, there were some hilarious moments this week on the lighter side of the game to balance things out. One true love! And while the goalies were strong again this week, we also got possibly the goal of the year.
Right in the top corner.
We had an entire nation in Canada holding their breath, records being broken, and of course, we got some great sound bites.
Mama said there'd be days like this. Help me, Dave.
Godspeed, Shorty.
You make a fart or something in the crease, it's gonna show all over. Hey, I watched it too. It's crazy.
And it's 2-1 Philadelphia. He can only laugh.
Am I hearing go Leafs go?
Something like that.
Not to get into politics.
Go for Leafs,
so
Phillies.
I'm not gonna get into
Go
politics.
for Leafs.
So how about we get to
Go.
it, starting with our weekly update on the Great Chase. As this week, we saw the Great 8 get to within 17 on what was a crazy empty netter.
Weekend
This one
update,
went in with
what?
0.1 seconds on the clock.
Put it in with the 10th of a second left. It's, because it's Gretzky, I guess.
Now, being an empty netter, it of course brought out some haters, but check this out. If you took away all of Gretzky's empty netters as well as Ovi's, it really doesn't make the difference that some may think. But regardless, the following game, we saw Ovi add another, getting him to just 16 away, while also extending his goalie victim list with the 180th goaltender he has beat in Fedotov. Over in Seattle, we saw Patrick Kane making a little history. Coming into this one, he was tied with none other than longtime teammate Jonathan Taves for most career shootout goals. And with what was likely the filthiest shootout goal you'll see all season, he took that #1 spot. There truly have been few to ever be as lethal as Kane in the shootout. But what was really cool about this one is that he scored his first ever shootout goal against the Red Wings. It's always kind of interesting how these things come full circle. Also, against Seattle, we saw Mitch Marner pick up his 500th assist, becoming the fastest Maple Leaf to ever do it, as he is now the third fastest among all active players behind just Crosby and McDavid. And lastly, we had another dropout of the Four Nations face-off. Quinn Hughes, who has been battling through it this season, he's been duct taped together, seems to be fighting through a ton out there, but with an oblique injury sustained at the end of January, he's now missed 4 in a row, and yeah, you hate to see it, but you also hate seeing you not being subscribed. Nah, but seriously, you guys have been incredibly supportive the last 2 weeks. The channel's growing faster than ever, and we're closer than ever to that 100,000 subscriber mark, which, if you've somehow missed it, when we hit it, I'm going to be setting up an NHL jersey giveaway of the winner's choice. So, if you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I'd really appreciate it. But moving on, let's get to the nasty of the week. This came in Vancouver after Miles Wood would be called for holding, but getting a little chirp from Carlson here, you would catch him with a spear, adding insult to injury as everyone got fired up. Wood would get the additional 2 plus a 10-minute as that was his night. But check this out.
Woo! Yay! Woo! Yay! Ooh! Yay! Boo!
Then
Yeah,
down
yeah,
in
yeah,
Carolina,
yeah, yeah.
after a scrum would break out, Kochekov was like, "Get this thing out of my crease." As Vemelka saw it and didn't like it. How about I
If I
come
was the
out of
goalie,
my
I would've
crease?
done
They'd
that.
come towards the red line, but of course the Zebras weren't having it. Put the goalies back in
The
their
Zebras,
place. Don't
what?
you do it? Don't
Where?
you dare!
I love
But as the
Zebras.
period came to an end, things remained heated,
Oh,
and
good.
man, would I have loved to see them go. Over in Florida, we got Greg and Reinhart wrestling it out. We saw White Cloud, New Jersey lay the boom on Cotter, and then choo-choo coming through. It was McCabe lighting up Rooney in Calgary. Lastly, in Pittsburgh, we saw Sidney Crosby in discomfort as he'd leave the game after this awkward collision with Holla, and this was about how I felt.
No! No! No!
Oh, wait, he's back. Okay.
That's how
all
I
right,
felt
we're over.
too.
What? No. There was 72 hours where I really thought we got robbed again. But he was out there today. He is officially playing, and I'm relieved. From there, let's move on to some...
Sidney Crosby playing like Connor McDavid on the same team. Finally! Woo! Now we just need kind of dirt out there.
Quick ones.
Up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
It's a bat in the Chicago arena during warm-ups.
Guys, watch out for the bat. Right there, what?
Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Now, the crew eventually were able to catch it with a net, but that was kind of wild.
Hey, look,
Over
it's
in Calgary,
Batman.
we've seen this before. Uyghur lost to Blade as we got the Calgary tush push, but what I have not seen is the double Blade pop, which we got in the KHL as 13 here had to crawl back to the bench. And while we're here, Ivan Demidov had a fantastic shootout attempt in the KHL All-Stars skill comp. Couldn't quite finish, but pretty sweet nonetheless. And sticking with the Russian theme, Matvey Michigan had himself a game against Ovi and the Capitals, putting up a pair before attempting the Michigan for the Hattie. I don't even know how many times he's tried it now, but this would have been insane. And here's him the next day at practice. Dude is determined. We also had Gritty, and I don't know, just being gritty, I guess. But in the AHL...
We're throwing out popcorn. We're gonna get crazy because we're in Philly, and I am a commie Philly.
This was pretty great.
I think I'm gonna change it into fascism.
Also pretty great was this from the Duke family. They got to
Philly,
watch their boy Dylan Duke score
Philly.
in his debut at Little Caesars Arena. And then...
Maybe too dark.
Just hours later, watch their boy Tyler score one for Michigan in the same building.
Michigan's favorite Michigan.
Here we got Drysdale.
College football version of the
NHL
NHL.
Have apparently been watching Netflix's series on O.J. Simpson. So when Marner was asked about it,
Yeah, I watched it too. It's crazy.
What did you learn?
I don't get how it didn't.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. You hear that, Kyler?
Sure.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
this one was just Kuzmenko being himself.
It seemed like you had a little bit of chemistry there with Scott Lawton and Travis connected with Scott Lawton and Travis connecting.
It's good connecting for me.
The dude is naturally hilarious, but maybe not as funny. We saw booing this week in Canada during the American anthem. And of course, Matthews was asked about it.
Not to get
Come
into
on camera.
Do you have any thoughts on what that kind of means as an American?
Not to get into politics, but you're going to get into politics, so I'm not going to get into politics, so I'll take the next question.
So, not to...
Yeah. I had to get into politics. There's a certain reason, and I think it's a very good reason. I don't like getting into politics on my YouTube channel because I think we should think that if I share my political opinion, it's probably going to offend people, so...
Get political, but we did also see the Stanley Cup champs visit the White
Oh, I didn't see this.
House this week, which
What
I
does
think is kind of cool.
47 mean? When he was born?
And
It was
finally, in
47,
Vancouver, we had an
48
interesting week.
or
First,
48.
caught Marcus Pettersson digging for gold. But with all three Petterssons...
I do
in the
that
lineup,
sometimes.
John
I don't
Shorthouse
go
had
as
his
deep,
work cut
but I'm like... It's like at the entrance of... I like to call it the entrance of
Green
the...
Man jumping over
house.
the glass and onto the ice in Vancouver as, yeah, something in the water out there this week. I mean, Lankinen. Dude, just scaring me. I guess he's summoning the goalie segment, so let's get to it. We got a Stupid Questions goalie edition, which was pretty cool.
No, not
Do
easy.
you think about how the camera in the net is pointed at your butt for 60 minutes a night?
That makes me feel more self-conscious of how big it looks, the close-up, but...
I'm always afraid that they're gonna have like a heat camera or something, and you make a fart or something in the crease, and it's gonna show all over.
Allegation. I think that's bull.
Not true.
Like black, and make everybody guess what a puck's at.
I don't know. You can do all the colors: purple, red.
Bubble,
I
right?
mean, I do sing by myself, yeah.
Another reason to be a good driver is saving money.
Crappy question center.
Always.
We also got some phenomenal stops, though. Samsonov in Boston absolutely robbed Geeky with the trapper, which we saw a lot of. Quick as ever in Columbus on Del Bel Belouz. What a name. Montembeau with a tied game in the third had celebrated
Sounds like
questioning
some
it all on
names
a
from the
pair of
Grand
stops
Rapids
as
in the
Macklin couldn't
60s.
even believe it. Wolf over in Calgary did what Wolf in Calgary's been doing. Beauty.
Or
Back to
70s.
Vancouver, it was Demko with a pair of nice stops as he had himself a great game against the Avs, and no, he's injured again. He would take himself out of the game against Toronto, and I'm not saying Lankinen put a curse on him, but I'm also not saying he didn't. Regardless, he would come up with a marvelous stop against Matthews. Wow, the bench loving that one. Then we saw the return of Bobrovsky in Florida, dropping the stick to bat one away. Did someone say bat? Anyway, Soderblom in Chicago had a pair of great ones and a little help from Murphy to cap it off. As in Carolina, it's Kirill. Stay in your net! No, come on. You're
Stay in your goddamn net. Ugh.
killing me. Why are you making that face? Oh, come on. No. Another one in Philly? I can't even say it.
And it's 2-1. Philadelphia, he can only laugh.
They're laughing at you, bud. But what do we have here? No, Ingram, no. Wait, what? Oh, my
I'll do it
goodness,
tomorrow.
what a feed in overtime.
I'll
Are
do
you
it later.
kidding me? All right, you know what? Touche. But with
Yes,
it, how about
I'm
we get
filming
to the goals
right
then?
now.
And what better way to start than with a Hattie from William Nylander, just the second of his career, and what's crazy, it
Yes, I
came
do.
exactly 8 years after he had his first. Also crazy, listen to this.
Am I hearing go, police go?
Something like that.
And then viewer discretion advised. This was nasty. Kent Johnson with his goal of the year candidate. It's a spinorama. Thank you, mama. So gross.
Never
Similarly
say that
filthy.
ever again.
Fiala taking advantage of a stickless Bishop. Plays with his food a bit before finishing. Gross. Connor Bedard fresh off of some criticism.
If he's playing like that, it's just not going to work. That is pond hockey.
Would rifle one home against the Preds, as this one felt like a message. His 21st point in 21 games, not bad for a little pond hockey. Then in St. Louis, in OT, it was McJesus slicing up the Blues as Colin McShimmy. He served up a beauty for the dub. However, it doesn't come so easy for everyone. Robert Thomas missed a wide open net, and in New York, it was Graves with a brutal miss. Really, he missed twice here, but yet that's somehow not as bad as scoring on yourself. Tony DeAngelo finishing the Boldy feed would put one clean into his own net. And what could be worse than that? Well, Ricard Raquel scoring against the Devils on one that was called back for the kicking motion. All right. But almost immediately after, he scored again, but this time on himself, and you guessed it, he kicked it in. I mean, you can't make it up. But maybe my favorite goal of the week came in LA against Montreal, as Mike Matheson's shot would go off the booty of Doughty, off the mask of Kemper before going up and over. The beautiful game. But anyway, with that, I think I'll call it there. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.
Alrighty, so it's article today, 18th. So let us know.
Alright, this one is unfortunate, but if you've grown up around minor league hockey, you've likely seen the insane behavior that can come from parents. It's no secret. There is a problem, and it's not just hockey, but what's been circulating in the hockey community and now starting to get national coverage is what occurred in Seattle last week at a 12U hockey game. It's kind of tough to watch, but this parent, Uriel Gonzalez, walked onto the ice and shoved 13 and 14-year-old refs to the ice. This is a grown 42-year-old man, and reportedly when police showed up, he had already left the arena, but he was pulled over at a traffic light where, this is laughable,
He needs
he
to
told
be
police
arrested.
he wasn't aware they were juvenile. Like, buddy, You walked this whole distance. People telling you to stop clearly had time to take a look at them and think this over and still decided this was a good idea. By the way, shout out to these 12-year-olds being more grown than him. But this guy also claimed he acted in defense of his son who was being punched and kicked for 30 seconds without the refs breaking it up. And I mean, you've seen it now, but he walks from the stands onto the ice again with 12-year-old players watching on, and I don't see any fight in progress. Even if the incident happened, which I believe, it had clearly been broken up by this time. So he's now facing 2 counts of misdemeanor assault charges, and if they stick, he could get up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine, which I kind of hope happens.
You know what? This is good. I'm tired of the bull crap. People today think they can do whatever crap they want. No, you can't do this crap. This is exactly why Karens exist. Because they're entitled pieces of and it's unbelievable. You wouldn't see this stuff in the 1950s. You wouldn't see this stuff in the 80s or 70s. Like, Jesus. It's ridiculous. They're 13 and 14-year-old they're 13 and 14-year-old refs. It's a pee-wee hockey game. It doesn't matter. It's not at a national level. And even if it does, that doesn't mean that it should be treated that way. No. Absolutely not. And this also and my brain's coming, and the topic of the Canadian fans during the Four Nations finals booing the American national anthem. I'm pissed as an American. I couldn't be more angry about this. That should be an act of treason.
Also been banned not just from this facility, but potentially every arena affiliated with USA Hockey in the state of Washington. And worth noting, this all happened at the Kraken Community Iceplex, where the Seattle Kraken actually hold their practices. So what was cool to see was that they released a statement, basically, stating there is no place in hockey for this, but further, the Kraken are also going to be inviting the 2 kids involved to a hockey game. So that's awesome. And you probably already know this, but it sucks that they have to mention that stuff like this is not an isolated incident, and obviously this one was excessive, but parents, chill out. It is one thing to go out there and embarrass yourself, but you're also embarrassing these poor kids. This kind of stuff really does leave a lasting impression. You hate to see it, and I don't love covering this stuff, but I do think it is important to put a spotlight on it. Anyway, please subscribe if you haven't. Again, I'm shooting to hit the 100,000 subscriber mark before the end of the season, at which point I'll be setting up a jersey giveaway of the winner's choice. So I'd love if you would help me get there, but yeah, that's about it for this one. Appreciate you watching. I cannot wait for the Four Nations face-off.
It already happened. I talked about it, and
The last few years, admittedly, I've done nothing but crap on the NHL and their All-Star Weekend. It's always a clown show and hardly worth watching, but the Four Nations face-off was promising. I was genuinely excited to see what the compete would look like, and yeah, let's never have an All-Star game again. We're just one game into this thing, and it's already, undoubtedly, hands down, a much better event. You put a national sweater on them, and the guys are out there hitting. They're skating hard, and suddenly it actually matters. I mean, McDavid for Crosby to McKinnon to open the scoring. Can you believe we've been robbed of this for as long as we have? A beautiful sequence on the power play. I mean, seeing this damn near brings a tear to your eye. Canada came out in this one absolutely firing on all cylinders, heavily outshooting the Swedes. Here they'd break out 2-on-1, and they had 2 goals on the board before Sweden even had a shot. As point for Marchand makes it 2-0, and the Rat was cheered for in the Bell Center.
Yeah, I heard a few boos out there still.
However, I will concede the downside of this is guys can get hurt, and we saw that with Shea Theodore going awkwardly into the boards, and he did not return. And Canada, by the way, cannot add another player to the roster if he is out. But yeah, that about would do it for the first. And while Canada outshot Sweden 7-3, Sweden came around in the second. It was a much more competitive hockey game, and near the midway point of the game, it's Hedman to Brodin. He shoots and he scores. It's Sweden's first, and Binnington maybe screamed a bit, has it zipped by his ear, and we had a one-goal game. And while Sweden, again, was a much better team in the second, Canada pushing back nearly got one here as Crosby gets it through Gustafsson, but a great job from Dahlin to save what was a likely goal. However, Crosby wearing a Maple Leaf is just a monster. He pushes Forsling off and somehow gets this back to Stone as Canada would take back the 2-goal lead as Crosby picks up his second point, which gets us over to the third, where not 2 minutes in, it's Kempe right down the middle and he scores. This one is one Binner probably wants back. He's beat block.
I'm saying this not because I like Russia. But they should have like a Russian team because there's a good amount of Russian players, and I know that it's called the Four Nations Face-Off, but at least they should include like Finland and Norway, Czechia and UK. The UK should be in there, and France and Spain and Portugal, a bunch of other countries in Europe, Asia. South America, I won't say too many countries in South America have a lot of NHL players, and obviously more hockey teams that are like in Mexico that are in North America, the continent-wise.
Side, and things got interesting again. And after Canada iced one with a tired crew on the ice, Sweden wins it in their end. Raymond fakes to Bratt. He finds Eriksson Ek, and oh baby, we had a tied game. It's Joel Eriksson Ek backdoor as Canada gives up their second 2-goal lead of the game. Outshot 10-6, but they did have some great chances as a phenomenal look here. Gustafsson with the stop of the game on Taves to keep it 3-3, meaning as time expired, we got overtime hockey. And it's a 10-minute 3-on-3, which I love. And sure enough, it was great. Back and forth. This was anyone's game. McKinnon was looking like it had to be.
Oh yeah, at the beginning of the playoffs, I'm gonna make one prediction of all the teams. See if they're gonna make the finals. Excuse me. I'm gonna have a bingo card again. And I think we might do a review video. That might be like after the final game of the playoffs, or final game of the finals and the playoffs, or it would be at the beginning of this beginning of October, next season's beginning. So
Him, but he couldn't beat Gustafsson, and after a hard back check from Crosby, a tired Crosby with a long-range drop for Marner catches them in full stride down the middle, and there it is. Mitch Marner, the Maple Leaf, would win it in overtime as Sidney Crosby with his third point of the night. Aging like fine wine. I mean, he's always been my captain, but there's something special about him in the red and white as he picks up 3 apples in a 4-3 dub over Sweden. I mean, a few days ago, we didn't even know if he'd be playing, and here he is, the player of the game. Now, I know, this Four Nations thing is likely a one-and-done deal, but come on. You cannot tell me this isn't already leaps and bounds ahead of whatever this was. I'm personally enjoying it so far and looking forward to the rest of it, but with that, again, I'm pushing to hit 100,000 subs this season, at which point I'm going to hold a giveaway for an NHL jersey, so I really appreciate you hopping on board, and with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Let's not have a wait-and-see attitude. It's all about attitude. We need that American swag. All right?
Well, they brought it all right. Maybe it was the booing during the anthem. Maybe it was that speech.
Oh,
but
man.
the U.S.
That was
came out
really
physical,
bad.
imposing their will early. They played a fantastic game. And at the heart of it was these Kachuk boys, who are going to be a problem. While they didn't start on a line together, boy, did they finish on one together. They were everywhere tonight. And you can tell this means something to them. So let's see how it went went down. We were just a minute in, and we got a great idea of how this game was going to go. The U.S. was setting a tone, but the Finns, maybe the smallest country in the tournament, nowhere near backing down. They fought back all game, and having said that, while early on it was the U.S. getting the more dangerous looks, it was Finland's Jokiharju with the opening goal. Only one goal this season in the NHL, but
yeah, they had so many fights in the beginning and then they scored. And don't forget about that they booed during the United States' national anthem. This could be an act of war, you know.
Brady Tkachuk on the follow-up would square it up.
We'll talk about that later.
Beats Saros, banking it off of him and in, and just like that, it was a 1-1 game. But he was just getting started. And it could have been a very different opening period. The U.S. rang a few off the pipe, outshot Finland 13-7, but a solid period overall from both teams meant it remained a tie game after 20. And so in the second, we got a very different period. It took over 4 minutes to get an official shot on net as the Finns great in the lanes again, and it would take Montempalo getting called for boarding to put the U.S. on the power play before they would even get their first shot of the period. They got a great look here, but overall the Finns, again, with some solid play. They played a very counterpunch game that requires the game to stay close, which for the most part it did. And again, the physical play, I love. Tkachuk and Mikkola coming together, as it's just so refreshing to have hockey these guys actually care about. It was a grind-out period overall with chances on both ends, but the Tkachuks stood out all night. They were just everywhere. They are such an asset to this team, lethal on a line together, as we started seeing towards the end of the second. But with 3 to go, Faber a shot from the blue line, and they score. It's the go-ahead goal as Matt Boldy redirects it in front to make it a 2-1 game to regain the lead. And so with 5 seconds remaining, the period's over, right? Well, not before Matthews would draw a penalty, as this one would obviously carry over to the third for a big power play opportunity, where sure enough, right out of the gate, it's Matthew Tkachuk. His shot would get redirected by Mikkola, as we now had a 3-1 game and a goal from each Tkachuk. Don't you blink though, it's Matthews for Gensel short side, and it's 2 goals in 11 seconds to start the third frame, and suddenly a completely different game, which meant for the Finns, they now had to play a completely different game, which played right into the hands of the U.S. Eichel for Tkachuk, and this game was truly blown open. It's a beautiful goal from Brady here for his second of the night to make it 5-1, as the Tkachuk boys with 3 of 5 goals, but still not done. And this is what they do. They get in your face, coming here to the defense of McAvoy after Armia caught him with a cross-check, which meant the U.S. got another power play. But surprise, surprise, who's yapping? On that power play, it's a shot from Werenski, and surprise, surprise, who's scoring? Who else but Matthew Tkachuk in front to score his second of the night, fourth by a Tkachuk brother to make it 6-1, in what was a full 60-minute effort from the Americans, and as time would expire, they would take the dub 6-1. Their parents proud as could be. The second and first stars, of course, went to Brady and Matthew Tkachuk. But the U.S. now has 3 points as the current leaders, with Canada losing a point to Sweden due to overtime, and speaking of which, that game should be fantastic between Canada and the U.S. on Saturday.
It's going to be the biggest game that I've ever played in my career, so the excitement's going to be an all-time high.
And then just quickly, I want to thank you guys so much for getting me to 90,000 subscribers. We are so close to 100, I can taste it. Which, of course, when we get there, I'll be setting up that jersey giveaway. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And yeah, thank you for watching. Appreciate it very much. I'll see you in the next one.
Oh. They have a problem. They're gonna have a problem.
We've been hearing a whole lot of
absolutely unacceptable. That's what that was.
Leading up to and now in this Four Nations face-off.
I didn't like
pisses me off.
That's all I got.
And when you rep your country, it just means more. So with the overall political environment surrounding this tournament, this rivalry is as alive as it has ever
Justin
been
Trudeau?
And it came to a head.
Was that
where we had a physical game filled with passion that we've been missing. Best on best, Canada, USA, for the first time in 9 years. Shocker. It did not disappoint. Now, the question coming into this one was, could Canada match the U.S.'s physicality that they showed against Finland? And for the Americans, could they match the speed and skill of Canada? Well, a big blow for Canada. Game time decision, Cale Makar was out. In his place, ironically, New York-born dual citizen Thomas Harley. And during the anthems, yeah, that would set the stage for what was a game for the ages. So let's get to it. Now, before puck drop, we had Matthew Tkachuk and Hagel yapping, as sure enough, dropping the gloves immediately. These two would go at it in what was a solid tilt, and Brady loving every second of it. So that was one down. But Brady Tkachuk taking the face-off would mean only one thing. He and Bennett dropped them back-to-back Tkachuk brawls, and this time it's Matthew Tkachuk fired up. Are you not entertained?
I got him good. That was mine good. Unbelievable.
Well, we would get a whole 6 seconds further and a whistle before more pushing and shoving, and Borrego and Miller still had more left in them as they'd go at it. Miller nearly knocking himself out, but an unreal start to this rivalry. Now, out of this one, though, Canada actually got a power play, which fired Torts up, but we only got 11 seconds of Canada's power play in their first game, so we got to see it here, and
Let
Canada
him
did not get a
be
whole lot of it. The
pissed.
U.S. remained physical
Let
and
him
had
be
a solid
pissed
PK, where Pelly
all
was
day
also solid,
long.
stopping Stone point blank, and this was great. As 5 minutes finally came by, 4 guys come out of the box to a choir of boos. But then McDavid up the middle, splits the D, and the Bell Center explodes. Gets it from Doughty in full stride. He beats McAvoy, goes to the backhand to beat Hellebuck, and would open the scoring absolutely fired up. And to start this game, it took the U.S. a second to get going. But McDavid flying again would get stopped by McAvoy with a great hit, and this was a pivotal moment in my opinion because going the other way, Eichel to Gensel, and they score. Let Freebird play, baby. It's a weak goal from Binnington to let this in, but the U.S. just like that square this baby up, and they suddenly got their feet under him. As sure enough, this time it's Canada going to the box. Crosby called for hooking, and it's a big U.S. power play. But Canada now stepping up. Gensel with
Sidney
space as
Crosby
he gets
really
shut
needs to
down by
get married.
Binnington, redeeming himself a bit as both teams got a solid penalty kill to start. But the big theme in this period was the physicality. From both sides, just you gotta love it. This ain't no all-star game, folks. Morrissey here would then get tripped up by Gensel, which meant they got another look at the power play, where they finally got their first shot in 11 minutes. And while they did get some better looks this time around, again, it was Hellebuck coming up big as expected. That's the fear from the U.S. They are just so well-rounded, they're gritty, and they kill off another in what would about do it for what was an insane opening period. Kachuk's still out there trying to get under everyone's skin, but that gets us to the second, where things settled down a bit. It was still physical, still chances going both ways, as Larkin right in front had a golden opportunity, unable to convert as he hit some pipe, but overall, the middle frame became a much more grinded out period. Less room out there, tight defensive play, and just as Canada was getting going again, Hellebuck strong again. And then a Crosby turnover at the worst time, right as Canada was changing, both D-men going off at once. Big mistake as Larkin from the top of the circle would score. He fires one over the blocker of Binnington. Don't love this one either, but this really comes down to that change. Also not a great turnover from Crosby, but with it, it's a 2-1 lead for the Americans. Price was in the building. Buddy, suit up. We need you out there. But again, it was a tight overall period. 10 shots for each as they were now tied at 18 apiece through 40. Not a whole lot between these two as we got the third and final frame where Canada was in the U.S. zone a lot. But the U.S. just great at getting sticks in lanes, and this is where the U.S. is stronger. Fantastic defense as they did a good job to shut things down. Some chances on both ends, but nothing crazy overall. Not a whole lot going on for the first half. But a big development was Matthew Tkachuk seemingly taking himself out of the game as he would take a seat. And while Canada was getting somewhat busy, anything that they could get to the net was stopped by Hellebuck. Binnington on the other end was forced to make a good stop, but as time ticked away with 2 to go, Binnington gets pulled. Canada goes to work, the U.S. intercepts, and it's Larkin for Gensel as they would about seal it with the empty netter. So yeah, game 1 goes to the U.S. who put on a defensive clinic, a sound game to shut down Canada's speed and clinch their ticket to the championship game in Boston. Only question now is, do we get a rematch? Canada will need to beat Finland in regulation on Monday to do it, so we shall see. But again, I want to thank you guys so much for all the support recently. The subscriber count has been going up faster than ever. And a reminder, when we do get to 100,000, I'm going to be setting up a jersey giveaway for one of you. So if you haven't subscribed, I'd love if you jumped on board. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Oh, the Finch.
Well, that was nerve-wracking. This Four Nations face-off has exceeded any expectations we could have had. And in Canada's case, while their matchup against the U.S. may have just been the best game we've seen in the last quarter-century, a bitter loss means it put them in a place of
Man,
win or
February
go
was a
home
crazy
against
month.
Finland, who, with their OT
We're not
record
even
against the
done with the
Swedes,
list. How
meant
many
those fans of
videos
the
do we have
smallest
after
nation with just
this?
5 million people found themselves in the exact same boat. A win in
1, 2,
regulation for
3,
either of
4,
these two
5.
meant
We
a
have 5
chance
more
at the
videos
championship.
left.
We had McDavid doing
We're
spins during
100
warm-ups on
minutes and
Connor
7
back in the
seconds.
lineup, and Binnington still in net.
1
Which
hour
made
and
him
7
a bit
minutes into
controversial with
this.
some of the soft goals he let in, but
Holy.
he did win a cup in this building in 2019, so maybe a good omen. And so, as the scene shifts to Boston, we got ourselves another thriller. Canada with a fantastic start to this game, but Finland, with the pushback and fight they've been known for, saw this game come down to the very final minute of play. So, with Marchand at home, let's get to it. Now, no hat-trick of fights to start this one, but still a fast-paced start, no doubt. Granlund with the first look as Binnington strong early. Canada with pressure the other way. Lankinen tested. Seemed like there were some nerves early on both ends, and a giveaway from Hintz would give it to McDavid. Takes a skate, fires one through traffic, and scores. Beats Lankinen glove side as Canada with their third straight opening goal. Coming right back, they attack. And Reinhardt breaking free McKinnon as he comes down and he'd score. It's 2 goals in 40 26 seconds as the dog, Nathan McKinnon, gives Finland the 1-2 punch to make it 2-0. As they call time, settle things down a bit, but a fantastic start
JD
for
Vance.
Canada. Rantanen here returning the favor. I love the physical play in this event, but Finland finds themselves down. Canada with a chip on their shoulder just seemed determined. They changed their lines up a bit. Crosby and McKinnon on the fourth line, which sounds nuts, but it certainly worked. Binner playing the puck a whole lot, which is part of the reason Cooper said he wanted him to start, and he sure did, as this one was a bit close, but they'd get going the other way again. McDavid for Sanheim, shot, rebound, and they score another. Braden Point makes it 3 straight. Him and McDavid with a World Juniors reunion, as it's Canada's best start to the tournament and their biggest lead yet. A very strong opening frame indeed. Outshot Finland 11-5, but defense again played great as well, not giving up a single shot in the last half of this period as they held a strong 3-0 lead through 20. So, headed to the second, the Finns would finally get another shot on net. A dangerous one as Binnington had to keep it out, and on the other end, Crosby on the forecheck disrupts things. Bennett back to Crosby to Big Mac in front, and he scores another. The Nova Scotia connection to make it 4 straight, as that would be the end of the day for Lankinen. Saros back in net, but overall, Canada was just too much. McCarr offensively dangerous as ever on one end, and McDavid defensively on the other. Yes, you heard that right. Finland, though, unable to get a whole lot going with Canada's smothering pace, but just what the doctor ordered, drawing a penalty for the first of the game. It's Taves called for slashing. Finland goes to work. Binnington, though, a good job to keep this one out, as that was their sole shot, Rantanen catching the outside post, but Canada remains perfect on the penalty kill, and another couple good stops between the pipes for Binnington. He stops all 12 in the middle frame, meaning the shutout was still in play through 40 minutes. But these Finns were nowhere near done, because as we head over to the third and final period, Binnington tested early again, but Finland pressure forced the turnover, and it's Lynn.
That skull's weird. It's like we're...
Dell scores to ruin the shutout. He beats Binnington far side just under the blocker, and they were on the board, which I thought initially woke Canada up a bit. They did good to kill some clock, but with over 4 to go, Saros would get pulled. The Finns 6-on-5, a great look to get within 2 as they certainly pushed. Laine with a few bombs. Another one here, rebounds loose. Laine for Garland, and they score. He's able to thread it through to beat Binnington, who lost his stick, and they make it a 2-goal game with a $1:40 to go. Immediately, Saros is off again, and they go right back to work again. Aho to Barkov for Granlund, and he scores another perfectly placed shot. 2 goals in
You just have 1 goal.
to
You need to
come
secure
right back
that.
into this
Keep
game.
the defense
drama
high.
was there.
That's what
Everything on the
Canada
line,
needs to
but
do.
oh, captain, my captain. Crosby makes a hit at center ice, gets it back, and he finishes it off. A sigh of relief from an entire country, but was this icing? Taves dumped this down, and it's impossible to see if it got tipped here or not. They waved it off, and so I have to assume it was, but I know what Hollow was thinking. Fucking bullshit. Either way, though, Canada, with time expiring, would officially punch their ticket to the championship game. Couldn't let it go to OT, and they didn't. But credit to Finland. They did what they do. Awesome fight back from them, and what a finish. Big Mac would be the player of the game, but more than anything, we get a rematch of U.S.-Canada Thursday night. I cannot wait.
Enjoy this one. We'll be ready for the one Thursday.
I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Let's see. I want to see what the 100,000 one's about, you know? Before we had to watch a 10-minute video.
Wow. What a week it has been. We've seen some of the best hockey in maybe a quarter century, filled with passion, receding hairlines, earth-shattering hits, beautiful goals, some great goaltending, and, of course, some hilarious sound bites.
My nipples are erect thinking about it.
No calling guys pigeons.
Yeah, there's a group chat going on today, so.
What a start, man. That's unreal.
MVP.
So much worth a second look in this week's Four Nations edition of I Had to Watch These More Than Once. But I'll be honest, guys, don't you kind of miss the All-Star game?
Oh.
Get the hell out of here. The NBA can have it. But let's start with some notables, beginning with injuries, which you hate to see, the only negative of this tournament. On Canada's side, Cale Makar was back in the lineup against Finland, so I'd imagine he's good to go. But obviously, Shea Theodore will be out longer term with his wrist injury from Game 1, but that means Thomas Harley is cleared to keep playing. As for the
wrist injuries are one of the most crappiest injuries there are. There you go. That's my opinion.
West, though, it's a little more extensive. Brady Tkachuk, driving the net against Sweden, took a tumble, played just a shift after this before sitting out. Matthew Tkachuk didn't play at all against Sweden after taking himself out of the game in the third period against Canada, but it's expected both Bash Bros are going to play Thursday. I'd also assume the same for Austin Matthews, who is also out against Sweden. However, Charlie McAvoy was admitted to the hospital Monday night due to an infection, which reportedly is not going to be too serious. Scary stuff there. Definitely wish him the best, as he will not be playing in the championship game. Oh, what is this? That's right, Stone Cold Quinn Hughes is in. As this could obviously be a huge deal. However, there would need to be another injury in order for him to actually be cleared to suit up. So I'm just saying, Jake Sanderson, watch your back. Next up, as we've seen this tournament, the color-on-color sweater matchups have looked fantastic. And there was a very intriguing tweet that came from Hockey News editor-in-chief Ryan Kennedy. With the CBA expiring in 2026, a new agreement could bring back the white home jerseys that the NHL had pre-2003, or at least give teams the option to coordinate what jerseys they'd like to wear on any given night. And this could possibly also allow for dark-on-dark jerseys, like we've seen during this Four Nations face-off, and how cool would that be? And lastly, this one's just notable for me personally, but I hit 100K, and I seriously cannot believe how fast this channel grew these last 3 weeks. But thank you all so much for the support. As promised, I will be having an NHL jersey giveaway that will go to one of you. I just still have to work out the best way to go about it, but look for that hopefully tomorrow. And so with that, let's move on to the nasty. And oh my Lanta, did we have plenty
Going on.
Pigeon? No calling guys pigeons.
To start,
no calling guys pigeons.
David in game 1,
bad.
But nothing has quite beaten the Bash Brothers.
Bad. It's not nice.
You can tell a difference. This may as well be real footage of the Tkachuk brothers. And I didn't expect much less. They've been looking forward to it.
And it's something that we've always dreamt of doing together.
Against Finland, Brady and Mikkola came together.
That's my most hated word. I hate dreamt.
We also saw Eichel benching Barkov in a beauty.
I say
the
dreamed.
Big Daddy was that U.S.-Canada game. This one had some premeditated action.
Oh, yeah, there's a little discussion during the day, and yeah, there's a group chat going on today. So
we're gonna go head out to India, get the guy that the Beatles got and make great music, and we're gonna leave hockey.
This rivalry is as alive as ever before. In the opening seconds, we saw a hat trick of fights that started before puck drop. Matthew Tkachuk and Hagel were barking as they were the first to drop the mitts and throw the fist. But with one down, there was more to come, because as Brady Tkachuk was taking the face off, it was clear we were getting another. He and Bennett dropped them, and this was so fun. I loved how they were dapping each other up.
I got him good. That was mine. Good. Unbelievable.
But before you could catch your breath, it was yet another. Parayko and Miller going at it, which hilariously Miller nearly KO'd himself. But what a start to this game.
That was pretty cool.
You've talked about that 3 times during
And
this
while
episode.
that was about it for the fights, the hits were everywhere. We had McAvoy with a game-changing hit on McDavid, absolutely lit him up. Brady Tkachuk laid a massive hit on Doughty, another pretty one, as the physicality was just on another level this game. McDavid with a reverse sit hit on Hanifin. But this wasn't the only rivalry, as Laine and Eriksson Egg were whacking at each other as well. But maybe my favorite hit was Bratt on Hughes in their game. He had to make sure to at least get him once.
I don't know how many times we get to play against each other, so I gotta take advantage.
But of course, maybe the most impactful hit of this tournament came in the Canada-Finland game, after Canada nearly blew a 4-goal lead. But Captain Crosby to the rescue as he makes a hit at center ice, gets the puck back, and finished it off as you could hear a sigh of relief in the entire country of Canada. And finally, in the U.S.-Sweden game, I mean, what's there to say? Brady Tkachuk was just a wrecking ball. But with that, let's lighten the mood with some quick ones. This may be the Four Nations face-off of hockey, but we've also got the Four Nations battle of the receding hairlines, representing their nations, respectively. Austin, long gone Matthews. Victor, where's the hair on your head, man? Mark, it's quickly going Stone. And last but not least, Patrick's got no hairline. I'm sorry, I am so stupid. But in that Sweden-U.S. game, a stick would go flying into the netting as this lucky kid was able to get up there and grab it. Good on you, bud. And then how about that electric atmosphere in Montreal? I mean, with Lemieux reading out the opening lineup, how could you not be pumped?
I say it one more time. My nipples are erect thinking about it.
Oh, no.
But really, this will never get old. Who has, though, is the curious case of Brock Nelson. I mean, is this not the oldest 33-year-old man you've ever seen? Are we sure he's not secretly from the 1980 Miracle on Ice team? Then during the U.S.-Finland game, Ray Ferraro got a close look at just how big Ottinger is, which was pretty funny.
Just stand up.
We had Marshawn expressing his love for T-Swizzle.
What's your favorite album?
Probably 1989.
What era are you in?
Every era.
This was maybe my favorite TNT moment, though.
Trophy winner. MVP. NHL.
I mean, Nate Dogg just completely unfazed. And one more with Crosby. Right before the tournament began, he was honored by the QMJHL with the announcement that they were naming their Rookie of the Year trophy after him, which was pretty cool to see.
Huge honor, and really appreciate that. Yeah, it means a lot.
And lastly, obviously this tournament has been
so
great, but there is
bland,
something big that's been missing.
so-
Johnny Hockey. And it has been so cool to see his dad, Guy, again invited to practice. They also have his jersey in the room given to the player of the night.
All boys, obviously, tremendous honor.
And so I've just loved seeing this.
Yeah, no, he's here in spirit. The greatest way to honor him outside of winning is to enjoy every second.
But from there, let's move on to the goalies. Now, being tighter hockey than usual, we've seen a little less of the acrobatic saves, but we have had some good goaltending nonetheless. Gustafsson against Canada had a beauty of a stop on Taves, but the other Swede, Sam Ersson, had a short but fantastic tournament, putting up 32 saves against the U.S., as this one here was absolutely beautiful on Larkin. As, yeah, great stats for him. Undoubtedly, though, the best performance in net has come from Connor Hellebuck. I know, surprise, surprise, but this dude has been great. Just look at how much better he is than everyone. But when in doubt, you can lean on Dahlin, as he had a great play against Canada on a surefire goal here. We had Lankinen for Finland with some huge stops. This one redirected with a nice save, but in OT was maybe his best. A crucial save here with a pinky toe that immediately went the other way for the OT winner against Sweden. Granlund, who had a great tournament, secures the victory. See how happy Solane is, though? Well, it might just be because of his bet with Peter Forsberg.
Great day, Hockey.
I love how Finland literally showed up just to knock Sweden out and called it a tournament.
I feel like we're the big brother now. So.
But that's a good segue into the goals of the week. That Canada power play goal to start the tournament was a thing of beauty, and I'll say it again. Just seeing this line damn near brings a tear to my eye. Sticking with Canada, the OT winner with Crosby's long-range drop for Marner, who came in full stride down the middle and rifled it home for the dub, was another pretty one in that same game.
Man, you guys are fun to watch. Risky play there at the end, 8-7. Okay.
Then I thought the Swedes had a pretty one on this goal. Raymond to Bratt as Joel Eriksson
These
finished it
are
off
low,
backdoor.
man.
Good stuff. But Nylander setting up Bratt against the U.S. was also pretty tasty. Then we saw Boldy against Finland with a beautiful redirect on Faber's shot that wound up being the game winner, as Brady Tkachuk in that same game later had a beauty as well from Eichel. Just a tasty finish. And lastly, McDavid against the U.S. giving us a little McJesus magic as he split the D, goes around McAvoy, and beat Hellebuck with a tasty backhander to open the scoring. Honestly, it tested the roof on the Bell Centers. I swear we nearly saw it fly off. But that's going to about do it for this week in what has been an incredible win for the NHL. The only thing left now is the championship game. I appreciate you watching. Again, I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. I started this channel in November of 2022. I don't recommend watching those first videos, but just 10 days later, I had my first video pop, and I just knew that this could be something. I remember my first 100 subscribers, 1,000, 10,000, and onward. And honestly, it's been a whirlwind of a journey. And
I remember my first 100. I remember my first 50. And I remember my first 20. I started off with 0, went to 7, and I moved on. I got 20, and eventually got 50, and I said, let's keep going. And I got 50, and I got 100, and then I got 150, and then we're now at a standstill at 180. Let's keep pushing forward. 20 people, 20, only 20 need to push me to 200, and then we'll have to push to 250, and that cycle will continue to go on and on and on.
Actually, these last few weeks, January 27th, I had just over 72,000. At that point, I decided it was time to make a push. I had actually never even asked for anyone to subscribe, which may have been a mistake because you guys liked the idea, and since then, in just 3 weeks' time, the numbers have gone ballistic, and suddenly, here we are. Way quicker than I thought. 30% of you came on board in 3 weeks' time. So yeah, Thank you all so much for your support. It's truly humbling to hear some of the incredible comments I get from you all. But with that, I know what you're here for, and so let me get to it. Now, initially, I figured I could just pick a subscriber, but not everyone is publicly subscribed, and it's actually against YouTube's guidelines. So instead, I looked at a few options, and I've decided to do it via a third party. The link is down below, and you don't have to do anything special. Just enter your name and email, which I will actually not even see. Only the winner's info will ever be revealed to me, so at that point I can contact you, obviously. But you'll have 7 days to respond, or a new winner will be chosen, so make sure you don't miss it. And yeah, I'm setting it to 2 weeks to get in on this, so go get your entry in. And quick note, I will be asking for your YouTube username when the winner is selected. I just don't want to give it to some random person entering, but I am thrilled to be able to give back to you guys with this. Honestly, I've had so many comments of people wanting the jersey, which makes me a bit bummed. I can't give one to everyone. Don't exactly have that Bettman money. But anyway, I hope everyone is okay with how I'm doing this. Let me know your thoughts down below. And overall, I'm just super excited to give one of you a jersey. But until the next one, as always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much. And I'll see you.
I don't care enough to enter, so.
There are so many storylines to this one. Obviously, the politics, the booing, the rise of
the
American
golf of
hockey, the fight for Canada
McDavid.
to prove their reign remains. Jordan freaking Binnington, who was thrown under the bus repeatedly throughout this tournament, coming into the building where he won the cup in 2019, giving us a performance of a lifetime. I mean, pick one. But no doubt, this Four Nations face-off gave us some of the best hockey we've ever seen. True best on best for the first time in nearly a decade. This was the purest, most passionate, charged-up hockey I can remember in years. Again, it's just different when you rep your country on your chest. And after tonight, we've added a new chapter to what may be the greatest rivalry, with the political environment being what it is, with the booing in Canada, the shit talk leading up to this one.
I did it for the flag, not for the cameras.
Our team does not care about anything that they say.
We want them again.
Probably the most jacked up I've been.
It all came to a head one more time in Boston. For Canada, could they break through that defensive clinic the U.S. put on in Game 1 and put more than just one past the best goalie in the world? A big difference was Cale Makar. Helly's kryptonite last playoffs was in the lineup this time, but it was Josh Morrissey, now out due to illness. As for the U.S., well, it was simple. They did it once, and they need to bring it one more time. But a big blow for them, defenseman Charlie McAvoy was out. But with that, the stage was set. Winner takes all.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Produce. There was no hat trick of fights to start this one, but the nerves, I think, were there early. It took a few minutes to settle in, as it was back and forth. Binnington with a nice stop on Renski, but not 5 minutes in, Reinhart forces a turnover. It gets to McKinnon, finds open ice, fires, and scores. Nathan McDaddy in motion through traffic, beats Hellebuck, seemingly the only way you can't let him see it, and Canada would score for the 4th straight game. Coming right back as it's McKinnon for Doughty, and Hellebuck forced to come up with a huge pair of stops, keeps that pad down, and keeps it a 1-goal game. The Canadians had a solid start, but then Larkin, broken out by Boldy, would come in alone, as it was almost deja vu from the last game. This time, though, Binnington there to answer. But overall, I thought the Canadians had the better start. Here again, winning a battle, it's Bennett to the net, scramble in front as Hellebuck with another big stop, left pad this time, and look at those eyes. But then, with 3 to go, Matthews wins the puck behind the net to the front, and they'd score. They free the bird once more as it's Brady Tkachuk driving to the net. Canada caught watching the puck as he ties it up with a third of the tourney, and just like that, it's even. And it felt like a flashback to the last game. Tkachuk would run Harley in the corner as the U.S. began to get their feet under him, and just like last game, they'd finish the period strong. And so, overall, pretty damn even after 20. But with that, let's head to the second, where, interesting to note, the U.S. had not allowed a single goal after the first 20 minutes of play all tournament. And again, their defense was great, getting into the shooting lanes. And again, even when Canada got their game going, Helly was there as Canada got the first 3 shots of the period. But going the other way, Hanifin shot, rebound, and this one somehow stays out. Binnington now with a fantastic stop on Hughes. But really, and maybe it's just the PTSD from Game 1, it's starting to feel like a replay of last game. The U.S. just great defense, and eventually shot, rebound, Sanderson coming down, and he'd score as the U.S. would take their first lead of the game, just like Game 1. And shortly after, the first power play, while this time in the second period, went to Canada, just like Game 1. And again, the Americans fantastic defensively. This play beautiful from Eichel without a stick, so casual, and anything Canada got through, Hellebuck there to shut it down. I sound like a broken record, but if anything, the Americans would get the best scoring opportunity of the entire 2 minutes shorthanded. And then, more of the same. The U.S. getting sticks in the way, Sanderson breaking up a 2-on-1, but Crosby finally getting Canada physical would lead to a fantastic chance, and surprise, surprise, Slavin saving another one. Before Bennett disrupting a pass, it's Marner back to Bennett, in shot, and he scores! Finally, breaking the script of last game. I was getting worried. It's a wicked shot, short side, roof daddy, as Canada ties this thing back up.
Wicked.
Matthew Tkachuk did not play more than maybe 5 seconds in the entire second half of the middle frame and would not play again for the rest of the game. And while the U.S. turned up the heat again late with a pair of massive hits near the end of the period, Harley gave them a taste of their own medicine, as Canada was also good in their own end, which meant through 40 minutes of play, the shots were even at 19 apiece. The score was even at 2 apiece, as it's about as even as it gets heading into the third, where Gensel with a breakaway in and shut down Bennington with another big stop. Then Gensel for Werenski and another, as he's forced to make a pair of ice stops, but he was near done. Helly on the other end was tested as well, as this one actually got by him but rang off the post, and suddenly it became a bit of a goalie duel with crazy close chances on both ends. A wild start to the third, point with a nice job here, as the defensive play I just can't highlight enough. Both ways. Slavin especially, though, an incredible game. What a block on Jarvis here. Parayko in his end with a deflection, just so tight out there, and so with 10 to go, it started to feel like sudden death. Canada began to push as Helly with another answer. McKinnon galloping down would get shut down again before pushing again, and it was right there. JT Miller interrupts this one as McKinnon had a wide open net and could have ended it, but did you expect anything else? After 60 minutes of play, it wasn't enough to solve it. Canada,
Miller.
US 2-2 overtime.
That's his new name, JDM.
So the US with the first shot, then Gensel to Matthews, and so close. Benner, the winner, with a big time stop as the entire Garden on their feet. Matthews again, rebound, and oh my, Jordan Bennington, are you actually kidding me? What a save right off the draw. It's Matthews again, and it's Bennington again, flashing the leather. I could not believe my eyes. Canada on their heels. I couldn't freaking breathe, as Canada would get an offensive zone face-off. McDavid wins it. It would eventually get around to Marner. He finds McDavid wide open, and he scores the McGolden goal. He beats Hellebuck with a gorgeous shot, and Canada still on top of the hockey. It was 87 in 2010, and it's 97 in 25. Wow. Breathe, brother. More than anything, this hug from Cooper to Bennington, I think, has to be all of Canada. My goodness, as the Canadians take down the Americans 3-2 after 20 straight stops from Jordan Bennington, as he owns the Garden. More than anything, though, I think we as the fans won. What an event this Four Nations face-off turned out to be. I don't know how we even go back to the regular season from here, but wow. Reagan writes, stay in Canada for now. Thank you all so much for all the support throughout this tournament. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Alrighty.
Fresh off of the Four Nations face-off, we've had just 2 days of regular season hockey this week, and yet with 24 games played, boy, have we seen a lot. Pucks to the nuts, puck to the ref's nuts, and a puck to the face. We also got
he was ugly before
to the
then.
back of the net. Fantastic saves, a surprising amount of rough stuff. I guess the break bottled things up. And as always, we got the sound bites.
Sometimes I like to use big words to make me look like I'm more photosynthesis.
I really felt the pulse between my cheeks, so no, I didn't feel good. Sure, So let's get going. And as I have been, we'll start with the notables. Fresh off of an extended break, Alex Ovechkin resumed his chase in fashion against Edmonton, scoring his first of the night to get within 15 goals of the record. And in doing so, Pickard became his 181st goaltender, adding to a long, long list. But he wasn't done. From Chikrin, just 10 minutes later, he went his second of the night from his office to make it 14 now, as he went straight to his son in the building to give him a fist bump as he threw up the deuces. And in the third, it was Ovi again, but missed the wide open net for the Hattie. Gotta be kidding me. What was that? Well, with the goalie pulled, Ovi from long range would end up netting the Hattie dead center for goal 882 as he come across the ice to give another bump. You like 2? How about 3? As he is now just 13 away from the record, and he is now the first player in NHL history to score at least 200 goals in 3 different decades. Breaks his leg in November, comes back, and has since scored 14 in 23 games. Pretty amazing stuff. Take a chance to score more, but I'll take 3. Moving on, obviously we all watched the Four Nations game, and I know you did because the numbers were insane. The first Canada-US game was already great, 10.1 million viewers in North America, but Game 2 bumped that up just a notch and saw 16.1 million combined viewers in Canada and the US, making it the second most watched game in North America in a decade, as only last year's Cup final had just slightly more. Truly a remarkable success for the NHL, for fans, and just hockey as a whole. And lastly, Cale Makar from the point would pick up an assist here for his 400th career point, becoming the third fastest D-man in NHL history to 400, as he joins some pretty elite company. And also worth mentioning, Brett Burns became just the 6th player ever to play 900-plus games consecutively. A long way to go to take the throne, as that still belongs to the Glizzy King. But with that, let's move on to the nasty, as again, in just 2 days, boy, did we get plenty of it. This here came in the Red Wings-Ducks game after what was a chippy one. Berggren in the first received the end of a classic true elbow special. No call on this, by the way, before Zegras in the second caught Rasmussen with a nasty blindside hit, clearly right to the dome. That would see him leave the game, as Zegras didn't even think there should be a call on the play. And surprise, surprise, there wasn't. Even after review, I don't get this one, but people have a hearing today. However, at the end of the second, is where we saw Sherrod take things into his own hands with an elbow of his own for Zegras that led to the scrum at the end.
Have you ever realized how much Trevor Zegras looks like Justin Trudeau? Trevor Zegras. I'm gonna download two photos. One. Alright, maybe not that one. But this one. Next. Justin Trudeau. Okay, this is Trevor Zegras. That's Justin Trudeau. See? That's the, like, jawline. It kind of looks the same, you know?
Drum at the end of the period. Almost like this was avoidable, huh? Ironically, though, we also saw Stamkos lay a nice hit on Bishop on Long Island, and this one ended up being a match penalty. I mean, make it make sense. Going back to that same Ducks-Wings game, we saw Kasper stun Gudis, of all people, with a nice reverse hit. And in Pittsburgh, it was Big Matt Rempe drilling Grizzly into the boards as this one left him hurt. Headed over to Ottawa, it was Ridley Gregg lighting up Slavkovsky as the gloves came off immediately. As he and the boys just had to come over. Back to Detroit, though, the first night back, it was the Brinket with a devastating hit.
This isn't over yet. I got another video, man. Oh.
Last season, I made a video on as he caught a puck to the face then. Rangers got a towel. Good to go. Guy would have carried out of here. Well, against the Rangers, it happened again. The man just attracts pucks to the face as he was rocking a golf-sized hematoma, and dude is just such a stunt. Then we had McNabb lose a blade in Vegas as Hill had to give him the tush push.
Last thing is when guys get on one leg and try to jump to the bench.
And back to Detroit again, we saw the rare double tripping call on the same shift as Lundstrom first, and then Dumo with another. Also in that game, Vetrano had a nut check on Johansson. But in Utah, it was the ref who took one to the nether regions as he took a hard one. Hard to even watch. But we also had some unreal calls in minor league hockey.
Sometimes I like to use big words to make me look like I'm more photosynthesis.
I love that one. And in Massachusetts,
Woo! Billy Shears! I mean Billy Smith! Woo!
Lorenz in Chicago got his shot broken up by his own broken stick he had broken just prior. And for some of the more wholesome
Don't
moments
break
this
your
week, we had the LA
stick.
Strong benefit game in LA that didn't give us the best hockey, but it was still great to see. This call from Snoop I thought was pretty good. We had
It's really hard to get it back
my favorite
together.
moment this week came from Columbus. It was little Johnny Gaudreau's birthday, and the entire arena sang to him. Just
Woo!
then head into Montreal. They had their skills comp this week, and check out Wi-Fi strategy in the shootout. I thought this was so good.
I got chirped last game. They told me to go back to Costco. So.
Now, speaking of chirps, we saw plenty of trash talk in the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah, there's a group chat going on today, so.
I did it for the flag, not for the cameras. Our team does not care about anything that they say. We want them against. Probably the most jacked up I've been. I mean, maybe their team doesn't like each other, then if they don't have group chats.
But Hagel had the last laugh as he posted his Team Canada group chat. And speaking of Hagel, here is real footage of the Lightning headed back to Tampa. All right, with that, let's get to the goalies. And while Lankinen had a great stop in Vegas, Jake Allen in New Jersey also had a tremendous one on Duchesne with highway robbery. Undoubtedly, the biggest performance this week came from Jordan Binnington, who was unfreaking believable in that championship game of the Four Nations. I still think he's a wanted man in Boston.
Describe the Kachuk brothers in one word.
Brothers.
Then here we had Elvis with, oh no. Stay in your, oh my goodness. Okay, displaying that vertical, just wow.
Stay in your goddamn net!
What a sequence. Further, near the end of the game, he ended up going into the post awkwardly, and this was amazing.
Everything okay?
I got the post in my butt. It didn't feel good. I'll tell you that. I really felt the post between my cheeks, so it didn't feel good. Yeah, it's funny, guys. I felt it was cold as well. So. A pipe between the cheeks. But we had a boatload of dumb questions, goalie edition as well, so I'll just play through a few of them.
That is a really dumb question. Yes. I try to avoid it. I'm not very good at it, so. Actually, no. I don't think I'd make a period. No. I would be pulled within 40 to 50 seconds of the game. If I had to do that, I don't know how well that would go. I think it's kind of a spectrum like anything. Some are a little more weird than others, and some are more normal. It's true. It's true. I think goalies are probably a little weird, but I think everybody's weird. They are a little different. I do wonder, like, whoever's watching that camera, what are they looking at? Never thought about that once. The camera's seen some, unwanted footage, but yeah, no, I've actually never really thought about it until now. Talking to myself. Not a lot of singing going on. Yeah, for sure. Honestly, sometimes like you hear a song stuck in your head and it's the best thing that can happen to you. And from there, let's finish it off with some goals. Not a huge sample size, but we did get a few. Hagel with a beauty shorthanded as he and Crosby here over in Pittsburgh got right back to work. Sid with that patented backhander, and then in Detroit we saw Raymond spin and sending it to the front for Kasper as he'd score. But what a pretty assist from Raymond. Great stuff. Similarly, in Washington, it was McMichael.
So went from there
with Carlson for an absolutely stunning display from the Capitals, who, by the way, going back to that
into the net, like,
paired with their 8 against the Pens the night before meant they scored 15 goals in 2 days. Pretty impressive stuff. But again, the biggest moment from the goals department came in the Four Nations faceoff, as this was just before the goal.
Shoot it in the net. McDavid with Marner.
Sure enough, it was Marner who first had to look at Matthews.
It's me, it's Austin.
Before he sent it past, it's me, Austin, for McDavid, as they would take the victory. In doing so, they officially created a new Canadian heritage moment. Beautiful stuff. Does that haunt you in any way?
Sure, Kevin.
I'm sorry. And so with that, I think that'll about do it. To end the video, though, I want to send my respects to Mike Lang, longtime Pittsburgh Penguins play-by-play announcer who passed away this week. He was an absolute legend, one of my favorites forever, so may he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace. May he rest in peace indeed. Final
in a year where a team like the Capitals are rolling and have been a massive surprise, on the flip side, no team has been a bigger disappointment than the Nashville Predators. They made a big splash in the offseason, signing Brady Shea, Jonathan Marchessault, and the big fish, Steven Stamkos, spending over $108 million. They were a legitimate Stanley Cup contender coming into the season, but through 20 games, they found themselves dead last at 6-11-3 to start. And as the season has continued, it has felt like a never-ending nightmare. Coming into last night's matchup against the reigning champs, the Florida Panthers, they were 20-29-7 and found themselves still stapled to the bottom among the worst teams in the league. But yet, they may have just somehow hit a new low. Let's do a quick recap of last night's game first, because it went, well, terrible. Took a penalty immediately, as you almost can't make it up. McCarron sailing one over the glass, down a man right out of the gate as the Panthers took advantage. Saros with no chance, and they were down 1 before you could get through a U2 song. That deficit turned to with 2 in the second. Sordif with his first, but worse than that, they then lost their captain, Roman Josi. After a hit from behind as Sam Bennett with the arm up crunched him awkwardly into the boards, Josi, who stayed out for that power play, did not play another shift in this game. Over in the third, McCarron did finally score in the opening 5 minutes of the period to get him on the board, but immediately taking their 5th penalty of the game, they'd lose momentum and the Panthers would respond not 5 minutes later. They regained the 2-goal lead, and then while their 4th of the night was taken off the board for goalie interference, it took just a minute for the Panthers to end up scoring again anyway. Another defensive breakdown to make it 4-1, as that would be the final score of this game, with the Predators losing their 8th in 10 games, in what also marked the 8th time in those last 10 games that they've scored 2 or less goals. And look at some of these teams: Anaheim, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Chicago. They beat Colorado, which is interesting, but yeah, another tough loss. After which is where we got Luke Shen saying this. And in other words,
The guy who does his job. He must be the other guy.
Now keep in mind, this is the same player that played on Vancouver in the Travis Green era. The same player on the Dave Tippett rebuild with the Coyotes. That is a big statement, and he's not really wrong. They caught a post in the first, had some great chances, but while it's hard to pinpoint exactly what is wrong with this team, clearly the offense has been a major issue. They are 30th in the league in goals at 2.59 a game, and again, that's with guys like Jonathan Marchessault, Philip Forsberg, and Steven Stamkos, who, by the way, hasn't scored a point in 10 games. That's the worst streak of his career. Forsberg has 0 in 6 games, and if you look at their point leaders, 4 of the top 6 are 34 or older, and all are at least 30. Things are a disaster. Lost Willsby for the season. If Roman sped that up here, but they've already lost Lozon for the season. Streak of his career. Forsberg has 0 in 6 games, and if you look at their point leaders, 4 of the top 6 are 34 or older, and all are at
This is almost 2 hours long. I'm so sorry for this. It's just his videos. He made so many.
Lozon for the season. They lost Willsby for the season. If Roman Josi was now out for any period of time, and they move on from Shen, that back end is a disaster. So, with all the money they've spent, all the chemistry they lack, it is hard to call this team anything but
get more chemistry.
That's about it for this one, though. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you
get your
in the next
team together, Nashville. It's finally over. It's done. It's over. Finally. Time to spin the wheel. Okay. Just gonna update for a little. Alrighty, time to spin the wheel. Here we go. Put Utah on this one too. Islanders. I think we did this last year. At one point. The New York Islanders schedule.
The Islanders' next match is today at 12:30 p.m. when they will be playing the Predators.
Okay, Predators game. I think that Islanders, and for the record, it's top. Jets, Islanders, Ducks, Islanders, Oilers, Islanders, Penguins, Canadiens, Islanders, Canucks, Islanders, and Islanders. Then April Fool's Day, they got a big game on the Lightning, which I think, obviously, the Lightning are going to beat them. April Fools. It's not April yet, so I don't know why. But this video is finally over.